Welcome back. All right, so I want to talk about the Vegas Golden Knights. I want to talk about the Vegas Golden Knights because something odd has gone on with them this year. They're currently 22-11-1 overall. They're first in the division. Things are going well, right? At home, they're 8-9. On the road, they're 14-2-1. It is baffling. This is a team that is virtually unstoppable on the road, but at home, highly stoppable. So I want to look through their history too and show how odd this year really is. So their first year in the league, 2017-2018, at home they were 29-10-2. You're going into T-Mobile, you're probably going to lose, right? 22-14-5 on the road, so they're not as good on the road as they are at home. It's fine. For an expansion team, they were fantastic, 51 wins and all that. Their following season, they dropped back a bit. 2018-2019 at home, they're 24-12-5. That's still a very good home record. On the road, 19-20-2. So that's the problem with the following season is on the road they actually lost more than they won. 2019-2020, their home record gets better, 22-11-4. Their road record, 17-13-4, gets a little better as well. So overall, really good season in 2019-2020. But you look at that home record, it's excellent. 2020, 2021, this is where you're just playing your own division, and they mastered it. They were 21-5-2 at home, and on the road they were 19-9. Yeah, tied for first in the league that year, and just absolutely remarkable run by the 2020-2021 Vegas Golden Knights. 2021-2022 at home, they're 22-15-4. And the interesting thing is that's last season's when we start talking about how T-Mobile, they're not playing as well as they had in previous years. And on the road, they were 21-16-4. So this record at home wasn't anywhere near as stellar as those first 3 years there, especially. And then, of course, like I said, the division record in 2020-2021 was just insane. But that 8-9 home record really stands out. They've lost one less game in regulation so far as they did in 41 home games back in their first season. So that just puts into perspective just how odd this really and truly is. So this side of the board, the games in black are the ones they've won. The games in blue are the games they've lost. This is their road record. This is their home record. You can see there's a lot more black on this side of the board. So their first game of the year, they were at LA. They won 4-3. Stone with the winner at 1934, the third. They go home. They win that one too. They beat Chicago 1-0. Cotter got the winner at 8:44 the second period. Their third game of the year, they beat Seattle in Seattle. They led 5-0 after the second, and they win that one 5-2. So game 4, also on the road, is where they get their first loss. They lost in Calgary 3-2. They led 2-0 after the first. Calgary came back and won that game, showing the kind of heart and spirit that Flames fans are really hoping shows up again soon. Maybe this road trip to end out before Christmas will help bring some of that back. Then they go home for 3. Game 5 of the year, they won over Winnipeg 5-2. They led 4-0 after the first. 6th game of the season at home against Colorado was a 3-2 loss. They trailed 3-1 in the third, almost came back. Game 7 against Toronto. Well, Toronto in Game 7s, we won't go there. But it was a 3-1 win, and it was one where Vegas is tied 1-1 after 2, and they win it in the third period. This is what I've been saying in recent reviews. I keep waiting for Vegas to turn it on in the third, and it's not happening. The 8th game of the season's on the road. It's a 1-game road trip to San Jose, and they win that one 4-2. They trailed 2-1 after the second. Again, for third period, they steamroll. Game 9, they won at home against Anaheim. It was a 4-0 win. They led 4-0 after the second, and Thompson gets the shutout. Another interesting side note of this, there's been one shutout so far this season for Vegas. That's for Logan Thompson. Almost said Tage Thompson. Logan Thompson. A little bit surprising because you would think they'd have more than one shutout so far this season. And then they win over Winnipeg 2-1. That's an overtime win. Eichel with the winner at 4:53 of overtime. So through their first 10 games, they only lost 2. They lost 1 on the road and they lost 1 at home. It is after that that their home record really starts to suffer. And it feels like this team is not the same at home as they are on the road. So they go out on the road for 5-game road trip. They win all 5 games. First at Washington in overtime, 3-2. Theodore with the winner at 135. Then they win at Ottawa, 5-4. They led 3-1 after the first, 5-1 after the second, and they hold on, but they win it. And then a 6-4 win at Montreal. They led 2-1 after the second. It was a bonkers third period. Vegas does end up outscoring them. And then the 14th game of the season was at Toronto. They won that one in overtime 4-3. Riley Smith with the winner 23 seconds in, so they did not waste any time. The next game was at Buffalo. They won that one as well. They led 3-2 after the second. They won 7-4. That's a 9-game winning streak for the Vegas Golden Knights. So one short of getting their own video. Now they're getting their own video for other reasons. So up until 15 games into the season, they'd only lost 2. That's it. Playing really, really well. Then they come home, and in the 16th game of the season, they lost against St. Louis 3-2. They led 2-1 in the second period. They end up losing it. Then the next game, at home against San Jose, they lost 5-2. They led 2-1 after the second period. This is where the not very Vegas-like play starts to show up. Game 18 at home against Arizona, it was 4-1 win. They led 1-0 after the second. They got 3 in the third because Vegas. So again, you could look at that and go, okay, they lost a couple, but St. Louis desperate team in San Jose, maybe revenge for the win they got in San Jose, and then they won against Arizona, which could have been a trap game. They go out on the road. They lost in overtime at Edmonton, 4-3. McDavid with the winner in 1:17 of overtime. And then they go to Vancouver. They won 5-4. That was a game they trailed 4-2 in the third period. But once they scored that 4-3 goal, it was pretty obvious they were going to steamroll, and they did. Then they go back home. And the next game at home, they win against Ottawa, 4-1. They led 2-1 after 2, and they win it. And then the losing really gets started at home. So they lose at home against Seattle 4-2. That one was tied 2-2 after 1. 23rd game of the season is home against Vancouver. That's a 5-1 loss. They trailed 5-0 after the second period. Vancouver's a different beast on the road than they are at home. I think in these two games against Vegas, you can see it. Vancouver had a 4-2 lead in the third. They blew it. Vancouver had a 5-0 lead in Vegas. They didn't. So that's the difference between road Canucks and home Canucks. It is not as different as Vegas. Vegas is completely different at home than they are on the road, at least since we get past that 9-game winning streak. So they go out on the road. They win in Columbus in a shootout 3-2. Cotter with the winner in that one. And so, yeah, then they at Pittsburgh lose 4-3. That one was tied 2-2 after second period. So again, the third period had been their bread and butter. Not so much now. Then they go to Detroit and they win 4-1. They led 3-1 after 2. They go to Boston. They win in a shootout 4-3. And Riley Smith with the winner in that one against his former team in the Boston Bruins. So again, on the road, they find ways to get wins. Then they come back home. The 28th game of the season was against the Rangers, a 5-1 loss. That was a 1-1 tie after 2. The Rangers put a 4 spot on them in the third period. Then they win against Philadelphia in overtime, 2-1. Marchessault with the winner at 3:21 of overtime. So the only home win they have in their last 7 home games is an overtime win over Philadelphia. Faint praise indeed. But after that game, they lost against Boston 3-1. That's at home. That's tied 1-1 after 2. They go out on the road for 2 games, and this is where you can really see the difference. They won at Winnipeg 6-5. That one was tied 3-3 after the second period. It was a sloppy game, but they won it. And then they won at Chicago 4-1. They led that one 2-0 after the second. There was never really any doubt that they were going to win that game. They come back home, though. They lose against the New York Islanders 5-2. They trailed that one 3-1 after the second. Did not have the comeback. And then last night against Buffalo, a 3-2 loss, and they trailed 3-0 after the second. Lots of shots. You can argue Luukkonen stole it, sure, but they still got behind 3-0, and they couldn't afford to do that. So they've had 8 games against playoff teams on the road. They're 6-1-1, and I'm talking about teams currently above the playoff line. 6-1-1, and I gave Washington the benefit of the doubt as a playoff team, even though I think by the tiebreaker they're below the line. So I made it so there's 17 playoff teams altogether because they're tied for that last playoff spot. And then 8 versus playoff teams at home, they're 3-5. So it really shows that they rise to the occasion against the good teams here, and they're really not getting those goals at home that they need. Because when you get into the individual players, it gets really, really interesting. At least to me. You guys can let me know if you agree. So, Riley Smith, 17 games at home and on the road. And the fact that this balances out is perfect. 17 games at home, 6 goals, 4 assists. On the road, 11 goals, 4 assists for 15 points. So he has 5 more goals in the same amount of games on the road than he does at home. But this is not a Riley Smith thing. This is just all the way down the board. Marchessault, at home, 11 points in 17 games, 6 of them are goals. On the road, 15 points in 17 games, 8 of them are goals. Then you got Eichel, who's currently hurt. 13 games at home, 11 points. On the road, in 14 games, 18 points. So remarkable difference in Eichel at home versus on the road. Stone, huge difference for Mark Stone. 7 points, with 4 of them being goals at home in 17 games. In 17 road games, 8 goals, 10 assists, 18 points. He's a point per game player on the road. He's not even a 0.5 points per game player at home. Absolutely insane. Carrier is a depth guy, right? But there's a difference with him too. At home, 3 goals, 0 assists in 17 games. On the road, 6 goals, 3 assists, 9 points in 16 games. So huge difference, triple the difference there, and he's even played 1 less game on the road than he has at home. Stevenson, big difference with Stevenson too. 17 games, 5 goals, 6 assists at home. On the road, 17 games, 3 goals, 16 assists for 19 points for Chandler Stevenson. It is interesting too that Stevenson, more goals at home than on the road, but that 8-point difference on the road, huge. Then you get to William Karlsson. William Karlsson at home, 3 goals, 5 assists, 8 points in 17 games. On the road, 4 goals, 11 assists, 15 points. So the goal total stays about the same, but the point total almost doubles on the road. They're creative on the road. They're loose on the road. You get more of the high-scoring games on the road, but they win them. This is a team that if they just let loose and just go out and they play a fun game, they tend to win it because they're a very talented team. Kessel's a depth guy at this point, right? But there's a difference with him too. 17 games, 2 goals, an assist, and 3 points. And on the road, 17 games, 4 goals, 5 assists, 9 points. He gets 3 times more the amount of points on the road than he gets at home. Roy. We're getting really into the depth here. Nick Roy. 16 games at home, 3 goals, 1 assist, 4 points. On the road, 15 games. He has 2 goals, 1 less goal, but 7 assists for 9 points. The points total is over double on the road what it is at home. Shea Theodore, 14 games, just the 8 assists, no goals at home. On the road, 15 games, 4 goals, 10 assists, 14 points. Almost double the amount of points on the road. Paul Cotter, right? 10 games, 1 goal, 1 assist, 2 points at home. On the road, 3 goals, an assist for 4 points in 12 games. So, again, even when you get into the depth, there's a huge difference to the road stats from the home stats. I don't know that I could replicate this either. I could do something like this for Vancouver, and I don't know that the home and road numbers would be that different. Pietrangelo, 14 games at home, 1 goal, 9 assists, 10 points. On the road, 11 games, 2 goals, 11 assists, 13 points. He has 3 more points on the road in 3 less games played. So this is absolutely crazy to see this. And with Pietrangelo just playing the 11 games on the road, that means that there are 6 occasions here Pietrangelo doesn't play, only 3 on this side of the board. So it is odd. Then you get into the goaltending stats, and it gets even weirder. So Thompson at home is 5-6. On the road, he's 9-2. Checks out with their records. Check out the save percentage. .922 at home, .912 on the road. So the goaltending gets better at home, and it does with Adin Hill as well. 3-3 at home, 5-0-1 on the road. But .909 is the save percentage at home, .898 on the road. So they're allowing more goals. The goaltending stats drop off, but they're scoring a ton more on the road. They're playing a completely different style of hockey there than they are here, and the style they're playing here loses. You have 2 goals and a loss, 1 goal and a loss, 1 and a loss, 2 and an overtime win, 1 and a loss, 2 and a loss, 2 and a loss. They haven't had more than 2 goals in a game at home in their last 7. The last time they had more than 2 goals in a game at home was against Ottawa. So that's a while ago. That was game 21. We just hit game 34. So that's about a month's worth of games right there. It is one of the oddest things that I've seen. And I realized this a couple of games ago when they were 8-6 at home. And I looked at that road record and I was like, okay. And then they go out on the road, they win 2 more to make that road record even more lopsided. And I thought, oh, this might be video worthy. Then after they lost to Buffalo last night, I said, there has to be a video on this. This is insane. I don't know that I've ever seen a team that has a record that is this dominant on the road, that is this mediocre at home. And it has to be driving Bruce Cassidy crazy. Because I can't think of a time in Boston where they were that bad at home and that good on the road. So this has got to be territory he's never been in before. They can't score at home. On the road, look at the games. So okay, we've got they haven't scored since game 21, right? So game 22 is at home. So the games after game 22, they score 3 here, 4 here, 4 here, 6 here, and 4 here. Now technically 3 plus the shootout goal, but they haven't been below 3 goals in a game on the road, and at home they haven't hit 3 goals in a game since that win over Ottawa. That was a 4-1 win. And it tells you that they're probably trying too hard. Maybe they're trying to be more defensively responsible. There's something in their game that is not working at home, and it works on the road. And again, you see here's a 6-5 game, a 5-4 game, 7-4, 6-4, 5-4, and then you look at home. You've got a 5-2 win here, 5-2 loss, 5-1 loss, 5-1 loss, 5-2 loss. They're not playing that same style of hockey. Now, their upcoming schedule means they have a chance to turn things around. First, tomorrow, they're at home against Arizona. Then on Friday, they're at home against St. Louis. Those are winnable games for a team that is leading their division. Those are winnable games for the team that's 14-2-1 on the road. For the team that's 8-9 at home, who knows? They could lose to Arizona and beat St. Louis. They could lose to both. They could beat both. I have no idea where this is going to go, but the recent stats would tell you they have to open up their game. They have to start scoring some goals, because what's worked on the road is not working at home. They're clearly not playing the same style of hockey. And keep in mind that last change belongs to the home team. The idea being that you get the matchups you want as the home team. The matchups clearly aren't working either. They don't get the matchups on the road. They're fine. So maybe they're trying to get matchups too much. Maybe that's part of it. Maybe there's some overthinking going on, and these guys just need to go out and have fun like they clearly do on the road. That game in Winnipeg, I think they really enjoyed that game. That was just a bonkers game. They end up winning 6-5, but it shows that if they open up the game and they make it just a pond hockey where it's goals, 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 they have the talent to score. You can see it throughout this list. These guys can score points and goals. Maybe let them go out there and do that, at least to get them out of this funk, this 6 games out of 7 that they've lost at home. So after those 2 home games, they go on the road. They go to LA, they go to Anaheim, and then on the following Saturday, they're at home against Nashville. Now in January, this is where things are interesting too, and I wanted to include the January part. They're at Colorado on the 2nd, and then they come home for a long homestand. And if they're really going to make this home record work, this homestand, they've got to win, I would say, 5 out of the, I think it's 7 games. Let's go through it. They're at home against Pittsburgh on the 5th, against LA on the 7th, and then they have some days off. It's not until the 12th that they play at home against Florida. Having that practice time, that downtime absolutely helps. On the 14th, they're at home against Edmonton, 16th against Dallas, 19th against Detroit, 21st against Washington. So you've got Pittsburgh, LA, Florida, Edmonton, Dallas, Detroit, Washington. That's a good homestand. Now, of those teams, most of those are pretty good teams. Some of those are above the playoff line. And so I think that homestand is going to be a really good test. What's really, really bonkers about all this, too, is they're first in their division, right? They have a great road record. And their reward would be they start their first 2 games at home in the playoffs. And so if this is a trend that continues throughout the season, you could see a Vegas team going into the playoffs with T-Mobile and we've got home ice advantage, and then looking at their home record and saying, what in the living is going on here? What has happened? How did this happen? So there's some of that for me as well. Not seeing that pushback in the third period has been weird. I've gotten used to, past about the 5-minute mark in the third period of any game in T-Mobile, Vegas is all over you. There are shots, and so many shots coming in at you. It's like the old song, right? But anyways, there are a ton of shots being thrown on net, and a lot of goals get scored as a result. And lately, that just hasn't been there. So it will be interesting to see what happens, because they're still first in their division. They still have a good record. They're just not winning at home. So let me know what you think the problem is in the comment section below. If you're a Vegas fan and you've gone out and seen this, especially if you're a season ticket holder, right now you're paying a lot of money to watch a team that's not doing a lot of scoring. So let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. If you're browsing your way through, you just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.